and I started adding more pictures of me to the site. I wanted people to see Brian G. Johnson or I should say immediately when they landed on the site.
Yeah.
I wanted to convey that, hey, what you're reading was written by a human, and it's me, Brian.
You hear all the bull about marketing every day. Make your money in your sleep. My new offer is crushing it. My guru could beat up your guru. It's time to go right to the source and get the truth about marketing. With your host, the founder of copychief.com, Kevin Rogers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Truth About Marketing, the show where we go deep with the actual experts to find out what they actually did to actually make a lot of money with their marketing. No fluff or theory here. And today is another great episode with someone that I have a history with. You may see a pattern emerging here, but I've been fortunate to work with so many great entrepreneurs that they, of course, are top of my list of people to bring on the show because I know they have great stories and are willing to share the real nitty-gritty details of how they did it. So today, it's my great pleasure to bring on a longtime friend and former client, Brian G. Johnson. How are you, Brian?
Hey, Kev, it is awesome to be here. Excited to just hang out with you and spill the beans. Woohoo!
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. Now, I have to start out with my claim to fame, which you very generously credited me with this, that I am responsible for the G in Brian G. Johnson.
Yeah, you are. I made a silly meme one day about that.
Yeah, I loved it. But this just struck me the other day as I was thinking about our interview. The reason I suggested that you define there were a few other Brian Johnsons in the industry at the time who right. Then were more famous than you or maybe more accomplished. And I thought about it the other day. I'm like, you know what? Those other Brian Johnsons aren't really around anymore. And now, you are the defining Brian Johnson, and let it forever be the G.
And on this day, Kevin Rogers proclaimed,
henceforth you shall be Brian G. Johnson. I love it. So, dude, I love your personality. You're a guy who, you know what, man? It's so easy for us to take ourselves seriously in this business. And every time I see your updates on Facebook, I just smile before I even click on it. You make these fantastic memes. You must have a cool app or something that does these things on the fly, or a really fast production team. But what's your philosophy on that? Do you just let it rip, or do you have any sort of method to your madness behind those?
Espresso. No, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what's important? It could be goofy, it could be serious. And I tell you, we're in this space and time where it's never been easier to create amazing digital media. And those memes I make on my iPad with a $3 app.
Wow. Yeah, they look professionally done.
Well, I had some pictures done because I saw all these fancy people with their books, and I was coming out with my book, and I thought, well, I want to be fancy too, so I guess I better have some photos taken.
But this is not you, in a studio trying to look serious. I mean, did you just have the photographer follow you around and find different ways to make crazy faces? Or?
Well, yeah, and I should say it's like, some of them, I've got professional shots, and I told her, I said, we're going to do serious, we're going to do goofy, we're going to do strange. Who knows what's going to happen? But I just, I tell the story like this, Kevin. I remember being about 8 years old, and I was in school, and the teacher, well, first of all, we're all in freaking rows. Like, all the desks are in rows, and we're all sitting there, bored out of our mind, and we're listening to all these things we could do. Like, I could be a doctor, a lawyer, an attorney, and I said, And I dreamt of this exciting life. And, I feel like the last 5 to 8 years have just been an evolution of getting to that exciting life. And just, you mentioned like not taking myself so seriously. So, we took the professional photos that don't look professional. I'm kicking, I'm jumping, I'm making funny faces. And I'll be with my wife, and the poor woman like, hey, I'm setting up the studio. I'm going to need a camera crew, and you're it. And she just goes along. I remember we headed down in New Mexico for the Chili Festival last year. We stopped at National Sand Dunes, and it was a beautiful blue sky day, and I jumped around up on sand dunes, and they turned out to be like amazing pictures taken with an iPhone.
Wow.
And I'll just kind of back up. It's never been so darn easy to make really cool stuff than it is today. So
yeah,
it's a neat time to be an entrepreneur.
I agree 100%. I often make videos from my car, and some people love them, some people hate them, and mostly the complaints I get are because it makes people nervous to watch them. Like usually in movie scenes when you see somebody driving and they're about to crash or something. But I just mount my iPhone to my windshield and I can safely drive and just talk as if you were in the car next to me, And
that's so cool. I've seen those videos and they're fun,
Yeah, like to be able to do that, like have a thought, express it, and be able to broadcast it to the world like that, and have people sit there and watch it and then respond is an amazing thing. And you're right, it's never been a more exciting time, and there's just no barrier of entry anymore. If you have some creativity and some ideas and really something to say and something valuable to share, there's no reason you can't make it happen.
It's true. It's pretty amazing,
Yeah, it's great. So a little bit, I just want to acknowledge our history going back. You're a coach. You've as long as I've known you, Brian, that's been your passion, is teaching what you've discovered works best to other people. We did a thing, I think our first project together when I was a pretty new copywriter was called Halloween Super Affiliate.
That is not true.
No, that was not our first.
No. You wrote about the 4 rhymes or rhythms of the earth. And we did the joint that was known as Commission Ritual.
That's right, Commission Ritual. Wow.
Yeah,
I remember that, the rhythm of 4s, and that was the hook. That was the big secret. Wow.
Do you remember how? I like to think about how far we've come, because I like to think about all the mistakes I made. Remember, I had like that. I was playing off Ritual, and I'm such a big Halloween guy that I've got this creepy stuff on the cover and like voodoo.
That's right. Yeah, it was real dark and scary. Yeah,
and you're like, maybe we should lose the chicken feet.
That's right. I was like, how do I tell my client that like voodoo may not be the most trust building aspect to
You know what's funny about that? And then what do? I write a book about trust.
Right. I love it.
How could that even be? I don't even know. You tell me. I don't know.
Man. We're always evolving. It's a strange universe. So this is great. All right, so I want to get into the case study here. This is not about how great you are on Facebook. This is about, obviously you have a lot of fun, but you live in the trenches of really testing and seeing what works, not just for you because you have a big personality, but again, your passion is being able to impart what you learn through, lots of trial and error and sharing it with your students. And I know you've gotten some amazing results for a lot of your students. Help them get them. So let me ask you the big question, and then we'll talk about all the good stuff that comes out of it. So what, Brian G. Johnson, is the one thing you did in your marketing that produced the most surprising results?
I optimized my website so it would convert. Boom!
What? What a concept.
I know, but it's, I went to this event, and how many people just think, Kevin, how many people are out there that have websites that really don't convert? They don't do anything. They just sit there.
Yeah, and they're often sending traffic to those websites.
Well, and that's what I had. So what I did, to get more specific, was about 2 years ago, I remember it was summertime, and I had a website that had been online for enough time, and I had put in enough effort where it was driving enough traffic where I should have assets as a result. And specifically, I'm talking about opt-ins and building my list. I think that's one of the things that, it's paramount as an entrepreneur to have a list. So I had this website, I had 200 to 300 visitors a day, and I had 1 or 2 opt-ins a day. And I really thought about, what can I do to make a few changes? How can I spend the next few days and make a few changes to improve that return on my traffic? And it was pretty exciting because I started playing around with some layouts, and at each step of the way, over about a 2 or 3 day period, working 2 or 3 hours a day, my opt-in rate increased by maybe 1 or 2%, and then the next day it was another 1 or 2%. And by the time I got done, I went from 1 or 2 a day to 15 a day, maybe 12 a day or 18 a day. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but as a digital marketer who has released a lot of products and done a lot of promotion and joint ventures, one of the things you're always looking to do is grow your list. And a lot of times I'll do a pre-launch with the hopes of growing your list. And that's challenging because you're basically asking other entrepreneurs to send you their list. Like, just if you could send your list to me, that would be awesome. Right. And not a lot of them respond to that. So there's things you can do with a marketing blog or your site or whatever to get those 10 or 20 opt-ins a day. It's a big deal. And I actually did the math, and after a few years, I'm looking at close to 9,000, 8,700, I think it was, 8,700 opt-ins based on, spending a whole 8 hours over about 3 days.
Wow. So now it's, one thing to get opt-ins, and that's a braggable number, but obviously now that's just step one. I mean, it is quite an accomplishment to get somebody, a stranger, to land on your site and in very short time convince them that they should hear more from you. But what is it you did on the site to increase that traction, and then what do you do once they're there?
Yeah, Kevin, I got to tell you, thanks for the opportunity, because this is really fun to talk about, because you've got so much knowledge, history, you've got skills and ability that are focused in this area exactly. And so many people focus just on the numbers. And people, that's not where it's at, baby. The thing is that you can have a freaking mailing list of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
But if you can't sell anything, who freaking cares?
Right.
It's like, mine is bigger than yours.
Right. Even though it doesn't work. Right.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't produce anything, but it's huge.
So what's really interesting is that so often in this space, it's this new freaking theme. You get the theme. It's amazing. You just turn it on, or it's a video, or it's this or that. And I went really old school, and I started thinking about Zig Ziglar. People listen to those they like, and they buy from those they trust. I thought about Dale Carnegie, and I started adding more pictures of me to the site. I wanted people to see Brian G. Johnson immediately when they landed on the site.
Yeah.
I wanted to convey that, hey, what you're reading was written by a human, and it's me, Brian. And how many times have you landed on that anonymous Joe website?
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no pictures, there's no anything, there's no who it's by, and you don't see those as much today because they just don't rank. Because as we dive deeper into kind of this thing that I did, it's all about trust today, is what I personally believe.
Yeah.
And so what I really tried to focus on, Kevin, was to how can I move people that have no idea who I am, and how can I build trust in the quickest time possible, and how can I move them through that process of listening, liking, trusting, and buying. So it started with images and saying, hey, it's Brian. And I've always been a big component of video, and I made sure to include a lot of videos on my page. And one of the things that I'm working on right now, I'm working on this training, and I'm working with my clients and helping people, is that, we talk about getting your message out there and how you do it and how you communicate, and really coming up with that avatar. And instead of like coming on Facebook and saying, hey, everybody, I hope you're having a great day, talking to the one individual.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter if you're on Facebook or if you're on video or whatever it is. It's like, if you want to convert, you have to kind of create this conversation with one other person.
Yeah.
And they're going to buy into that and believe in you. That's, I thought about this thing, and I'd love to get your opinion because, I think very highly of you,
Oh, thank you.
Kevin. And I'm out walking Otis the other day, and I'm thinking, I'm crafting this offer right now, and I need believability, and I need it twice. Number one, people need to believe me. They need to believe in my system, and they need to believe in themselves that they can do it. And I kind of thought about that. So by starting and creating this dialogue with one other person and crafting a message as if you were sitting down next to someone, just having a one-on-one and sharing your experience,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did. And when you start doing that, and when you build a website from that place, and then you put the opt-in in the right place, and you use video so people can listen and watch and whatnot, the conversion rate increased dramatically.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, it's a really important point. You talk about that conversation. I think people get confused sometimes, and they think it needs to be harder than it is. Like, we talk about the customer avatar, and this. You could make it an elaborate process of, okay, do this research on the demographic. How much money did they make? How many kids did they have? Where did they go to college or not? Right, and then turn that into a human being, someone you can actually picture when you sit and write. Well, it'd be a lot easier to think of somebody you know or have met in your life who you think your product could help and just write to that person. Because in the best case scenario, you may actually have a relationship still with that person, and you can almost sneak some of your pitch to them without them knowing what you're doing, and just bring up parts of the conversation that you think they would respond to, and actually have this real conversation with them. And if the whole key is, do they not feel like they're being sold to, right? Are you really drawing them into the subject and confirming that this is somebody who could use this help? And because that's what the best selling feels like, is a natural conversation, not like, these are all the things I think you need to hear to believe me, so I'm going to blurt them at you now. Like, that's when copy gets bad, right? It's when people do what you're talking about, which is really picture, who am I talking to? Who is this one person I know I can help, and how would I talk to them in real life?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I remember when we worked together on that first project, Commission Ritual, I kind of gave you this is what the product is. These are my results. This is what I do. Mm-hmm. And I remember you crafted a headline, and originally, I can't remember exactly what it was, Kevin, but it had something to do with I was shy, or I was just kind of a quieter person. And I said, no, we need to go back to the drawing board because that's not me, right. And just try to come up with that, who I am, and just share from the heart. And one of the things I've been thinking about more lately too, with this kind of conversion theme, is, all you really need to do is share where you're at with a particular subject matter, and that's so compelling for another human being that is also experiencing that very thing.
Right.
And I think some people get so hung up on, do I have enough accolades? Am I smart enough?
Yeah.
Am I incredibly good looking enough? and they do this whole thing, and it's the answer is no, and then they crawl into a corner.
Yeah.
And they hide when all you really need to do is show up and say, I don't know if I'm an expert per se, but I've been fiddling around with this SEO website stuff and WordPress, and let me tell you a little bit about what I've learned. And anybody that is into SEO or WordPress or whatever the subject matter, because it works across the board, they're going to be interested because here's a human being that has experience. And
right.
I think when that shared personal experience is really powerful, and it's interesting to me because it's so attractive to the person on the other side of the computer. They're like, oh, here's a human being. It's not an anonymous website. There's a person behind it. And then over time, they get to know and like you. And that's how I've always been able to convert really, really well. So I feel like I'm the indie cult band. I don't have a huge following, but I do have a core group of people, and they bought and they bought and they bought. And what's even more rewarding is that I've seen some of those people go on to make millions of dollars. I mean, that's amazing to me to have been a part of that and to be able to help people move forward. And it's pretty neat to do what we do, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing. That it is a privilege to earn somebody's attention. I know that probably sounds a little trite, but man, attention is the first thing anybody can pay you in this hyper distracted world. And if you know, that's an evolution of, okay, how do I win attention, and then what do I do with it?
Yeah.
And
that's on the subtitle of my book, dude.
Is it really?
Yeah. Leverage today's online currency to grab attention. That's it.
I love it. Love it. So let's talk about the book. So all this great learning, these great results through the sort of trial and error of you optimizing your blog with personality, with video, with you know, showing that you're a real human, not trying to be anybody's end-all, be-all perfect expert, but just saying, I get it. I struggle too. This stuff seemed impossible to me, but I've figured it out enough right now to have it produce this for me. And this is how it's affected my life. And if you're interested, if you feel like I'm someone who can teach you, let's do this. And, you know, that's a really simple way to break it down, but you've put all this into a great book that's sold very well, and really feels like, you know, this book is the next chapter in your career, no pun intended. And so I know you're building at a whole training academy around the book. So the book is Trust Funnels. And tell me, you know, more about what's in the book beyond the stuff you did on your blog. But, you know, if I'm looking to, what you're saying to me is resonating right now, what am I going to find in the book?
Yeah, so the book is really how I've done it through that process, right? How I've basically taken who I am and just created a personal brand around that, and how anybody can too. And it walks people through the process. And, you know, I wrote the book like a training course, because like we talked about, you know, I've done a lot of coaching programs over the years. So when I started, I just created a very large outline, and I started from the beginning. So, you know, I cover mindset, and then I kind of, it was really rewarding because I was literally kind of like live book writing. Like if there's like a reality book writing, parts of the book would be that. I remember writing about some things I was doing on Facebook in the book, and I'm like, well, I hope this shit works.
Because I just said...
Yeah, well, and it did. It worked really well, you know, and I think part of that is just having the courage to step out and be in the spotlight, and also understand that, you know, you don't have to have a PhD, and you don't have to be a New York Times bestseller. Right. You just have to maybe be a few steps ahead of other people and where they're at in their evolution. And if you come across as someone who is believable, and you've got a system in place that people can believe in, then magical things can happen. So, you know, that's kind of the book, and we talk about really the big platforms. So start off and create a marketing site or a blog so you can create a personal brand. You can share who you are. And then also make sure you show up where the people are. Because if you're just on your blog, you know, you might rank in Google one day, but you can go to Facebook and there's all kinds of people chatting, and you can mix it up with those folks and send people back from Facebook to your blog to drive that traffic and so on. And you can do the same thing with YouTube.
Right.
And you can do the same thing with Twitter or LinkedIn. So it's really about, you know, establishing a personal brand, understanding what your message is, launching a site, and then leveraging the big sites to drive traffic. As I watch my new dog chase her tail sporadically, and she's kind of crazy. I'll be honest with you. She's more crazy than Otis.
Is she also a standard poodle?
She is. She's a standard poodle. We're forever standard poodle people. They're great dogs.
Yeah, I've told my wife if she'll ever let me have another dog, it'd definitely be a standard poodle. I now have a miniature beagle. So,
I kind of have that. I kind of can't believe you're saying this right now. That's a big part of my brand, Mr. Rogers. I am the poodle wrangler. Now you're going to get a freaking poodle.
That's all right. I won't let it become part of my marketing. I'll hide it. I'll protect our secret. You can't have it all, Brian.
I know. I'm just being goofy.
What if I grow crazy hair? I'll just let my hair grow back as much as it will, and I'll never brush it.
You're Kevin Rogers. You're all set. You've got a cool brand, dude.
Now, so you talk about a personal brand. Maybe people are listening going, what the heck does that mean, a personal brand? And I come across a lot of people who they fear, well, two things. One is putting themselves out there the way we do. And two is they just say, oh, I'm not funny, or I'm not that interesting, or I'm not comfortable on camera. What do you say to people who feel like they're not qualified to build a personal brand?
Yeah, that's a good question, because those are the objections. And one of the things to think about is, first off, why? I mean, I think it's easy to dismiss if there's not a really good why. And in an overcrowded market, strengths become the normal. Strengths are expected. Mm-hmm. If you go and buy a luxury car and spend $45,000, you expect a luxury car.
Right.
And I feel it's our job as marketers to be memorable, to be in the space and time to be on people's kind of top of the list, right? And by creating a personal brand, you can differentiate yourself from the market. And the one thing I talk about is, you don't have to be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, funny's really good. I'm not going to lie. I mean, funny attracts people.
Yeah. It helps them let their guard down. It does a lot of things.
Well, it does, but I also know a lot of people that are not that funny.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what's really most important isn't if I can make somebody laugh. It's whether I have what they need to get what they want, right?
Right. Like Chew Toys.
Like Chew Toys. Can you hear her?
Yeah, I love it. She's having a blast back there.
She's down here with her squeaky toys. She's freaking out. So it's like, if you can address the needs and wants and then just add your personality in, like I said, I know lots of people that are 7-figure marketers and they're not that funny,
right,
but they are who they are. And if you're really analytical, like, be that person.
Right. That's what I tell people. Same thing. It's like, look, the worst thing you can do is try to be something you're not, If you're, if you're funny or not. Are you getting laughs? Or when people do laugh at you, are they is it because you have these certain personality quirks? Then that's that's but that's good. You can capitalize on that, but don't try to hide it or be something you're not. I mean, the worst thing you can be in marketing for your personal brand is disingenuous.
Oh.
I mean, and it may be an innocent thing. Your product may be great. Your information may be valid. But if you're trying personality-wise to be something you're not, they're going to assume you're full of shit across the board.
Crash and burn. Man, I love it that you shared that, because I've seen people do that, and it's sad. It's like, well, I saw Frank Kern do this thing, and it was cool. And it's like...
I'm a surfer now, yeah.
Like, I just, just be you. Someone said to me the other day, like, the new Tony Robbins. And I'm like, nah, pretty good. Tony's cool. Brian G. Johnson, 4.027.
Right.
So I think that's my answer. And I think that's kind of what you say, too, as far as what you just told me. So I think we're both in a good spot then.
Yeah, I love it. And, look, there was no manual for this, but it sounds like now there is, and it's called Trust Funnels.
Yeah, it works. It just, there you have it. Yes. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with yes on that question.
I just blurbed your book in real time. So you can, when you redo the cover, you're welcome to add that. There was no manual for personal branding, and now there is. It's called
I will make, yes, that's the new cover. That's the revised edition.
All right, Brian. Well, this has been great, man. I really appreciate you, spending some of your valuable time sharing your hard-fought wisdom. And I will put a link to whatever the most valid thing. This will air a couple of months from when we're recording it. So go to the show notes on copychief.com/TAM. Click on Brian's beautiful head there, and you'll see all the links and all the ways. I'll definitely put a link to the book as well, so you can grab that. And thanks for doing this with us, man. Shared some great insights, and it's been fabulous to catch up with you again.
Kevin, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan, and it's really been great to be here. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Likewise, man. We'll talk again soon. Thanks, Brian. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Truth About Marketing podcast. If you like this show and you think other people would like this show, the best way to spread the word is by reviewing and rating the show in iTunes. Just log in, click review, leave a big old fat 5-star review, and let everybody know that you dig the show so that they can dig it too. To get all the links and resources we mentioned on today's episode, please go to copychief.com/TAM, as in Truth About Marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve your sales copy with templates, formulas, coaching, feedback, or hiring a pro, do all that on the inside of the members area of copychief.com, and I will look for you there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. For listening, we'll see you next time. For listening, we'll see you next time. For listening, we'll see you next time.